Okay, this one's from Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle says, I just got clean a month ago, and I'm worried.
Good job, Kyle, by the way.
Yeah.
A month is more than I could do at the beginning.
Yeah.
I had 3 days. That was my limit. So
You know, yeah, you think a month and a half ago, would you think you'd been a month in recovery?
Nope.
You know, so, I mean, that's, keep at it.
Yeah.
And the worry's not necessarily a bad thing, but let's finish the question.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was excited for Kyle.
Probably Clyde too.
Sorry.
You know? But you're Kyle, so we'll answer Kyle's question. Okay, so I'm worried because my relapse started last year with New Year's and I guess the New Year's celebrations.
Oh, okay, I get it. So he's worried that maybe this year something similar could happen. Which,
Yeah.
as you said previously, the holidays are a huge trigger. And
Yeah, so it sounds like Kyle may... well, first of all, it sounded like you had a bit of clean time up until last year, New Year's. Then relapsed, as you said, and then now you're back on track.
Yeah.
Which is... and... I think we should dive in a little more and kind of give Kyle some suggestions here, but if I can just take a little bit of time to get on a bit of a soapbox, if I could.
Please.
He's, I think that most professionals in recovery really understand addictions as being a disease.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the disease model, disease, and...
A disease in the sense of like having a depression or some type of bipolar maybe.
Or diabetes.
Okay.
Or heart disease. I mean, it's the same. You have these physiologic, brain structural changes.
Right.
And physiologic consequences of these changes that are, that have a cascade of, bad health outcomes, just like these other diseases.
Mm-hmm.
It's chronic. I mean, the notion that once pickled, you can't unpickle kind of thing,
Right.
It's a chronic, and it's kind of similar like with diabetes. Once you're, sort of declare yourself with diabetes, you're diabetic, and you need to like take care of yourself with diabetes. Mm-hmm. Now, when someone with diabetes or heart disease or congestive heart failure, emphysema, they may have, some sort of an infection that happens or whatever, and their health gets bad. They have to go in hospital and, get, put in a better way, recover, back out. There's not a moral implication that person's a bad person.
Mm-hmm. I see where you're going with this, yes. Sure.
I mean...
It happened.
Exactly. And you're not judging somebody, and they could be a diabetic with like amputations, kidney failure, and dialysis, all kinds of things,
Mm-hmm.
And no one's making a moral judgment. That person's a bad person, And I just want to kind of throw out there the notion that if we are dealing in addiction with a disease, with a chronic disease, and somebody has a relapse,
Right.
that's not the time to beat somebody up, particularly like Kyle in your case, that you came back to recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And
he cared enough to write.
And yeah. So I mean, it's so easy to beat up on ourselves. It's so easy. And I just want to throw out that it doesn't make sense in the disease model to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I borrow something from Al-Anon. Didn't cause it, can't cure it, but you can contribute to it.
Yeah.
So it's not my fault that I'm an addict, which I am, but it is my fault that I stay in recovery.
Yeah.
And I can contribute to my disease by not doing the things for myself that I know I should do, or I want to do.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say two things. One thing, I thought we could take a quick moment and maybe explore the relapse process, because I find personally, not only from my own experience, but from people I work with, obviously the relapse happens long before you pick up, and being in recovery doesn't mean that you're not using. That's being sober, or you're abstinent, but being in recovery means you're actually active in self-care, active in some type of program.
That's a really good distinction.
Yeah, and I think it's important, because the relapse only happens when you're in recovery. Abstinence is just abstinence.
Yeah.
So if I don't eat watermelon for a week and I buy watermelon, I didn't relapse. I just ate some watermelon, right? So I think that the fact that he wrote us and said that he's worried, I think that shows that recovery is something that's important to him. And maybe this year he can take a look. And the reason I'm saying this is because I think he needs to take a look before the holidays at what happened last year and what he didn't do. Maybe, and this is just stuff that people say. I stopped going to meetings. I felt good. I felt like I didn't want to use. So I just why, I don't feel like going to a meeting. I don't feel like calling my sponsor. Those things, the things that you didn't do last year, I would suggest that maybe you look at them so that this year you can do them. And unless he identifies them, he won't know. He won't think about the things that he needs to do.
Yeah. And it may also be another way to, what didn't you do all the way through? That, again, having a drink or using once is not good. I mean, it's not good.
Not for an addict.
Not for an addict, yeah.
Yeah.
Not good for an addict for sure. And, but then not getting back on track as soon as possible is even worse. So, staying connected with supports, whether, I don't know if you're in some sort of a treatment program, or you got, sponsor, other sober supports that are kind of there for you, there for you, to make it through the holidays. And if you're stumbling, there to kind of get you back on your feet and moving forward. It really does seem like, one drink leads to 100, but it doesn't necessarily have to. I mean, just saying that, if you really stack the deck in your favor for, getting through the holidays, then you may not even have the first drink. If you do, you won't be able to get away from your supports that are going to pull you back on track.
He's making himself personally accountable to those people who care enough. Yeah, absolutely. Now I prefer he doesn't have any drinks. So we don't want you to drink at all.
Yeah, that's where we're heading.
We don't want you to drink. And you know how I'll get through the holidays next year? Easier not drinking this year. So many people, you know how many times I've heard people say, "Oh, this will be the first sober holiday I've had in 30 years." That's like stacking the decks against yourself. Yeah. Like, how am I going to do it? I've never been through them. But you get through one, and then you realize, well, that wasn't bad. And then next year, it's like it's nothing. And then next thing you know, the weddings that are always an issue, and the birthdays, it's like they become a non-issue. Yeah. I've been to several weddings, and I have not drank.
That's great.
Amazing.
That's great. And Kyle, that's where I think you can be heading to is, doing this. Go ahead and having the courage to kind of get through this, get your supports in place, and kind of think of not this holidays, but even the next holidays. How much easier that's going to be for you. Because you'll have already kind of gone through the first.
And realizing that it's just not that hard. We only make it hard.
Yeah.
We
think ourselves in this kind of like...
It's like a test. Oh my God, what am I going to do? The test is coming. Yeah. And you psych yourself out.
Yeah. Don't psych yourself out.
No.
You're doing better.
You got this.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Yeah, well, happy holidays.
Yes. Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Hanukkah. And whatever other holidays I'm forgetting. There must be a million of them.
I think Diwali's out there. There's got to be some other...
Some good pagan holidays, some Wiccan holidays, maybe.
Holidays, yeah, exactly.
Happy all of those.
All of those. All right. I'm Doc.
I'm Roc.